Welcome to the Last Poll podcast. I'm here with two special guests, Bozo and Pixel. And we were just talking about how Pixel got invited because he made one video, and but the video was really good. The video was very good. It was a good video. Of course, Bozo got invited because Bozo is just base and also made a website and has done a bunch of other cool things for the communities. But yeah, I mean, the whole point of this podcast is to really just invite different people from the Guild Wars 2 community and beyond, really. Just talk about, you know, their kind of online stuff that they do. And I think both of you have done some cool stuff in the Guild Wars 2 community. You're fairly active in the conversation, and I felt like it was important to bring you on and have you talk more about it. But we'll start with Pixel and then go to Bozo. You know, just tell us maybe a little bit more about yourself and your involvement in the community.
I feel like I'm much more active in the conversation than I am a content creator, but I guess that I'm bridging the gap there. I made a YouTube video on the new Elite Specializations with Visions of Eternity, going over some of their balance and things to be excited for and maybe be a little bit concerned about. I plan on making some other videos. My next project, bit of a teaser for the podcast, I'm going over what I think makes for a successful Elite Specialization design, and maybe I'll do other stuff in Guild Wars, other stuff beyond Guild Wars, who's to say. But check me out on YouTube, watch the video. It's very long. Don't feel bad if you want to just watch the one section for the spec you care about and then leave. I won't take it personally.
It was a good video, I promise.
I had a friend tell me the other day that they were like, I had this suggested to me. I don't even play Guild Wars. I was like, I know that person. And I was like, that's crazy. That's insane.
That is kind of crazy. That is crazy. I've had something like that happen before, I think. I'm trying to think. I swear I have, but I can't think of the specific moment. It's funny, though. People are like, wait a second, isn't that your face? And I'm like, yeah.
I think I know that
Wait,
guy.
Why are you covered in Vaseline? No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
It's my background. I don't want to have a bunch of stuff happening in the background.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, my name is Bozo Friendly. I'm a small Guild Wars 2 Twitch streamer and also one of the guild leaders of Calculated Risk. It's a guild on NA. And we do a lot of high-end rating stuff and PvP tournaments and stuff. And also the dev for a new website that I've been building for the past 3 months called the Commander Lounge. It's solely focused on trying to bridge the gap for new commanders to want to learn how to command better, how to want to tag up, post in the LFG, as well as the tool has a little bit of everything for everyone, right? But the biggest thing is a global community event calendar, so people can post their events, their meta events that they do. They have meta guides, and then the biggest thing is a tool that I coined. It's called Squad Up, which is a replacement for all the Google Sheets. If you ever done static content in the game,
bless you,
you know that Google Sheets are like rampant in Guild Wars 2, and so I tried to create a tool to make it a little bit easier for everyone to manage the teams.
Yeah, that's cool. You obviously invited me to check it out. That's kind of how I was like, you should be on a podcast. So yeah, I checked it out. It's really interesting because to me, it feels like the community is always trying to come up with solutions to problems that I feel like should be also solved in the game, but they don't get solved in the game. So we have to come up with the solution. So here we are. But yeah, it's important that we have that kind of community involvement. Otherwise, a lot of these problems would really suck. Yeah, they just keep happening.
It's funny you say that, though, because I did research beforehand, right? Like, what are the main areas that people have problems? And I learned that this issue isn't just a Guild Wars 2 issue. It's pretty much any MMO that has structured, repeatable content. You know, whether it's Final Fantasy, it's WoW, any MMO, they all use Google spreadsheets to organize their groups. So I feel like maybe it's not just Guild Wars 2 bad.
Yeah, I think with that in particular, I don't think that's something that can necessarily be solved in the game. But what I was more thinking is because didn't you create something to do with like compositions and stuff? Where my mind was going is like when I, in general, and I don't think your tool actually does this, so my mind was wandering randomly, but one thing that should be in the game is when I create a 50-person squad or even a 10-person squad, I have no idea who's doing quickness or alacrity. This is why a lot of spreadsheets exist, so that people can plan who's doing what ahead of time. And I just think it kind of sucks looking at a group and not knowing who's doing what immediately and having to ask and communicate with every single person to like somehow logic puzzle out who is doing the roles.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to do a little bit of mental gymnastics. Like, oh, he's playing a scrapper. Is it power or quickness? Oh, he's playing a catalyst. Is that quickness or also DPS? You know, you got to do a lot of guesswork
in
there.
some instances, you can kind of use the new inspect cosmetics feature to see like, okay, that firebrand is holding a pistol and an axe. That's probably a DPS firebrand. But if they're holding like a staff and an axe shield or whatever, you can kind of suss it out. But we already have the marker system in game. It'd be really nice if you could just right click on someone and be like, give that person the star marker. That's a boon giver. They get a little marker. That'd be so helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice if you could just have, you right click somebody and then you can put the quickness icon on them. Yeah, that would be nice. God, that would be a very beautiful thing. And then
without having to use add-ons.
And then if somebody leaves the subgroup or the party or the squad or whatever, and they had one of those things, it gives you an alert as the commander and it says subgroup 10 no longer has quickness. Like imagine if that happened. That would be one of the greatest quality of life changes of all time.
All I want to say is I only command raid and strike squads, so I don't know I'm not as intimately connected to the concerns of like the open world convergence, World v World squad leads, but like even with 10 players, if I'm in the middle of a pull, someone drops and I have to do like the mental calculus of what the hell boon is now missing while I'm trying to handle a fight's mechanics, I crash out so fast. Ask any of the friends I'll hang out and call with, and I'm oh god, what happened? Where am I? What do I need to fix? Who do I need to tag?
It's a lot. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
It really, really is. You know, one of the things that I'm most excited, you know, having you two both here at the same time, is I feel like we can talk about kind of how the community engages with different ideas, and we can talk about how these guides help people and why it's important to disseminate information. As kind of a starting point, I'm really curious about the reception that you've received to many of the things that you've built, the posts that you've made. I think you've both done kind of a wide array of different things. I'm curious kind of like how you feel received or not received, or maybe kind of a mix.
So, because I think the scope of my stuff has been a little bit smaller. I'll go first so that Bozo can have the spotlight because the scope of your feedback and the content you make is so much larger than anything I've done so far. But it was interesting. It feels like it ramps up with time. I feel like there's a bit of skepticism in the community when it comes to like new people giving feedback. Like, is this someone I should trust? Is this someone who's like worth engaging with intellectually? A lot of my early like Reddit posts giving feedback on Willbender and stuff did not get a ton of traction, especially the more nuanced ones. I remember I made a post on, hey, Guardian Greatsword has some really bad aftercasts, and that hasn't historically been like an issue, like in everyone's problem. Like if you played Dragon Hunter, you probably knew that was an issue, but that didn't proliferate out. But because Willbender needed to use super efficient hit count management to generate alacrity, that ended up becoming a problem that like, even if you were a Guardian player and you studied the rotation on Snowcrows and learned it perfectly, you would still be playing worse than other players because you might not know to stow your aftercasts. And I made a post about that, and people were just like, this super isn't a problem. And within 2 months, it had been fixed. And I think that like being able to communicate feedback that is small enough in scope to be actionable, but also specific enough to demonstrate some sort of conceptual understanding ends up helping build credibility in people's eyes as, you know, the mountain of stuff that you've created or feedback you've given or posts you've made kind of builds up with time. People get more acquainted with what you're trying to provide.
I think it's a really good point. Like the idea that people are looking for someone to trust, but maybe there's a bit of skepticism at the beginning. I think it's pretty hard to gain that level of trust. And you know, absolutely. It makes me think it makes sense why misinformation is pretty abundant, I would say, in the community. It's because it puts a lot of pressure on people that are generally trusted. If they say something that's not true, everyone will just believe it, right? So this puts so much responsibility on their backs.
Absolutely. There's also the fact that like a lot of people that provide feedback, and I'm victim to this, right? Like my posts are about Willbinder because I ultimately wanted those changes to be pushed for a thing that I cared a lot about. People have their own agendas that they want to get changes through on, right? Like you'll see people talking about like, oh, Chronomancer doesn't need nerfs. I play it and it's fine. And it's like, in some contexts, like maybe, but it's just, I don't know. People just need to be better about owning their biases. And the more trustworthy you are, the more that compounds on the trust that you're building. But if you acknowledge your biases when you're someone that's like new, people are like, oh no, you totally just want your broken build to be more broken forever. It's just, everyone thinks that everyone's operating with an agenda. And I think the more you own that and still try to operate with respect to it, the better things tend to be for your credibility.
What do you think, Bozo?
So, I mean, my journey through the community reception pipeline has been generally pretty good. I frequent Reddit a lot. I know earlier in your stream you had a little bit. Yeah, you're popping off. I was like, oh man. But I mean, I started off as wanting to make guides for the meta events purely from the perspective of the commander, right? Like what they just need to focus on, because a lot of content that's out there is more focused on the majority of the players, right? And I feel like commanders are very like an isolated small subgroup that there's not a lot of material. Too. Yeah, and so I made these guides. I just was like, hey, do step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can command these meta events, and they went generally really well. Until I tried to do something different. I tried to make a guide that boiled down Greer. And this was before they had the 10-minute timer on it.
To be clear, the raid boss, not the convergence.
Correct.
Okay.
The raid boss version of Greer. And it received so much criticism because different people had different strategies, which didn't make the strat that I was, outlining in the guide wrong, but people just had such strong viewpoints on how that fight should go that post just kind of did not do well compared. Like my other ones would get like 400 or 500 upvotes. This one I think maybe did 100, right? And it got downvoted like a lot initially, and then over time it kind of went up. But I learned that day that different groups of content requires different types of media, right? And so I was like, all right, cool, makes sense, because I was toying with the idea about the guides and what I could get away with it, right? Because the whole point is, people have three. There's usually, they talk about the 3 learning styles, right? So they have the visual, and then auditory, and then I forget what the third one is, but kinesthetic, right? And so I was like, how can I cater to the visual learners that isn't a YouTube video, right? Because if you look on most information about Guild Wars 2, a lot of it's in videos, right? And it's kind of just the normal for a lot of things. Like, if you want to learn how to do something, you go to YouTube, you YouTube it, and you learn about it. But it takes so much of your time, where it's like, if I could just boil it down to a page where people could just see the things that they need to do, they get the group together and they could attempt it. I was like, man, that would be like really cool, because that way you're not spending all these time to like learn how to do the raid. You just, here's the main highlights, and you can experience it for yourself. But I was like, after doing that post, I realized I was maybe it's not the best to try to boil down a raid boss to like 6 steps.
Yeah,
it's really hard to do that. Yeah, it's really, really hard to do that. I've always said that I wanted to do raid guides, but honestly, the thing that's holding me back from doing that is 1, time, but 2, every time I think about doing it, I think that it will never be good enough, right? Like, people will always find something that's like slightly incorrect, which probably shouldn't hold me back, but it's true. Everyone has a different perspective on it. And the thing is, as you kind of alluded to, like there are different groups of people, and specifically with raids, there are people that are like just trying to get through it. They're like, I just want to get this so I can get a skin and never get here again. And then there are people that are like, oh, I'm just forming up a team and I need like a casual strategy. I need something that's going to help us get there faster. Then there are people that are more proficient that are trying to find ways to speed it up. Then there are full out speed runners. Then there are people going for records. Then there are people looking for bugs. And that, like, you see, there's just all of these layers and layers and layers of people that are all going to approach this problem very differently. And I think that's part of the beauty of doing anything like this, is that people will find different ways to approach the problem. But it does make the creation of a guide, the creating a guide is just so difficult as a consequence, because people, when they read it, they think it's for them, but it's maybe not.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I try. I'm like, let me get through the metas first, right? Because those are a lot more linear. A lot less things can go wrong, right? Because I had an idea for raid guides, which focus less about the mechanics and more about how to teach commanders how to get the party back on track when things go wrong. I feel like the biggest things that is hard for raid leaders to learn is how to recover a run.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe that is an idea for raid guides from the perspective of a commander, than just saying, hey, here's the mechanics of the boss. This is where you guys need to go. Because if you go off script, you're going to be like, oh, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's like the recovering a fight as a static is so different from recovering a fight as like a pug, is so different from recovering a fight as not even like a group of people that just like came together in like RA or Skygang or whatever other servers you want, then like the actual in-game pugs. Like the way each group approaches saving that situation is so different that if you're talking to one of those demographics, the other ones are going to be like, but that's not how you should do it, and then that complicates things even further.
Right, because like let's take a keep construct for example, right? If you're in a static group, you're going to try to kill the two statues first and then CC. But if you don't CC or fast enough, or you don't kill them fast enough, you need to know when to bail and spread, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a pug group, you're never going to even attempt that.
Well, you might have one chronomancer that does enough CC to cover all of that, so you're fine.
Right.
But I totally see your point. I completely agree. It's people are so particular. They go into every conversation assuming the context of that conversation is about them. And it's really difficult to pull yourself out of that and be like, is this content useful to someone? And am I that someone? And people are really bad at identifying that.
Yeah. And like one of the things I did when I created the site was I put tags on the guides. So whether it was beginner, intermediate, advanced, expert, that way, when you're reading it, you already the context is already set of, hey, this is for people who are brand new to commanding, right? Because everybody kind of pretty much knows how to do the AB meta, and it doesn't take a lot for the commander to run that meta from their perspective. But if you want to get people to want to tag up more, they need a good fundamental place to start. And so I was like, oh, like AB meta is actually one of my highest rated guides on the Reddit. It received so much praise for, but it's one of the most simple metas nowadays to do. And what that really shows is that the community wants to they want to lead, but yeah. I think there's a whole stigma around it that people are afraid to put their foot out, right? Like Steb, you did that podcast with the devs and you got roasted for it, and now you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again, because it's hard to put yourself out there and put yourself in a position and then not get the feedback that you were anticipating, and then find the strength to want to do it again.
It definitely goes to the people approaching it expecting their context to be the premier one.
Yeah, What I can't get out of my head, based on what you've just said, is when you said people want to lead. I actually think that should be a topic of conversation for a little bit, because I don't think they do. I think people like the idea of it. I think they like the idea of leading, but I don't think they actually want to lead, if that makes sense. I think they want to get the content done, and they like the idea of being able to get that content done easier by just flipping up the tag. But I actually would argue that most people have no desire to put the tag up. And the reason I know this is because I tried to do Triple Trouble pretty consistently. And I would run it on 2 accounts. So because you know how Triple Trouble, for the viewers here, for Triple Trouble, it's this big event where effectively you need 3 tags, because you go in 3 different directions and you have to do these little mini games to synchronously kill these worms all at the same time, or like within a minute of each other. So you need 3 tags. So I was using 2 accounts to get people in there. And then I'd usually have somebody else, like a friend, be the third. But it was really difficult for me to play 2 accounts at once, as you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
So what I thought was, okay, well, I'll get the group going. I'll give them the instructions. And then I'll just give the tag to somebody else. So I would sit there and I'd have like 30 to 40 people in this squad. And I would say, okay, well, I need somebody to take the tag. Will somebody take the tag? Silence. No one. And so I thought, well, surely someone will want, and I would like beg people, and no one, 0. So then people would always say, well, Sneb, it's because the tag's 300 gold. Nobody has the tag. As a result, there's just nobody can do it. So I went, I don't know if that, like, they might be right. So I thought, okay, well, let me test that. So I right-clicked on every person's name, because if they have the give command or make commander thing, that means they have a tag. So I right-clicked on every person, and over half of them had access to the commander tag. Over half, but not a single person was willing to be the tag. And I think there's lots of reasons for that, but I don't think that most people actually want to take the initiative to do that, because it's much easier in PvE to just go around and collect the rewards. I don't think most people want to be the commander because there's 0 incentive to do it.
It's super thankless. Like, I know I mentioned that already, but like people don't want to take tag because there's no incentive to do so. You want to do the content, but there's no reason that you would ever have to command it other than I want to do this content with other people. I only ever tag up to do like IBS Fast 5, daily strikes in general, and like maybe the odd raid clear just because I want to do it, right? Like, I'm much more, even as someone that can command and does command, I'm much more like happy just popping into a subgroup and just contributing what I know I'm good at contributing, which is being a good team member, contributing DPS, helping resolve mechanics, reasonably, etc. Like, even as a commander, commanding is hard, and people have the same attitude towards commanders I've found that they do towards like Reddit or Discord moderators, where they're like, oh great, they're going on a power trip. Like, you'll see posts on Reddit all the time of like, I was randomly kicked from this squad, what would I do? And half the time it's like, maybe the commander had a reading check and you just joined, didn't state a role, and then you got kicked and got frustrated about it. Like, people will get mad over these things where it's like, there's clearly a communication mismatch and neither group wants to own that there was a communication mismatch, so it just kind of becomes incendiary on a dime.
Yeah. So I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I swear it's like relevant. So I'm a volunteer firefighter, right? And one of the things that they always teach, right, because we have to be CPR certified and all that stuff, is in those situations, right, where someone's having a heart attack, if you just say call 911, 9 out of 10 times no one will call 911. But if you say hey, you in the headband, call 911, everyone's going to be looking at you, Sneb, and what are you going to do?
I'm going to pull out my phone and start recording.
Exactly. And so...
But how is Sneb supposed to call 911 if he's a slug?
No. I'm just going to start recording. I'm like, holy crap, that guy just got hit by that car.
That guy's talking to me.
Right. He'd be like, oh no, my hands are full of Vaseline. I can't dial the buttons.
The bystander effect is wild, and Guild Wars squad composition and organization is super victim to it. Absolutely.
Whereas, yeah, like if I was going to hand off the tag, I would be like, hey, you have the tag. I'm giving this to you. And then you just do it. Because either they're just going to like leave and we'll have to figure that out, or they'll actually just, they'll just do what you told them to do.
You know what I just learned from this? I just learned that people are more afraid to tag up in a video game than to call 911. That's what I just learned. Because I mean, really, because I've done that. I've given people the tag before, and they're like, "No, actually, I'm not doing that."
Well, I think part of it comes down to incentive, right? Like a well-designed game often coaxes players into the behaviors that they want those players to exhibit. Like Guild Wars, wants players to play in a group, and it wants everyone to contribute to the success of that group, which is why we have stacking and boons from being near other players, and it's why anyone can revive anyone. It's also why, loot is instanced, so players aren't competing for loot drops, so you're not rolling need or greed like in WoW or 14. Like, Guild Wars is built top down to get players to engage in a space with each other and help each other succeed. But once you impose structure on that, players don't really know where to go or what to do, so it gets kind of fuzzy, and people are like, oh god, I don't know what to do, and that's where you get the bystander effect type stuff.
Yeah. People get mad at you, though, if you call people out. Like, I've pointed at people and been like, you are not doing the mechanic. And they go, Lamau, it's my game. I'm sad. I am reporting you. And
yeah, I've DM'd players in private because I don't want them to feel called out. And I'll be like, hey, I know you're on heels, but we have maybe 80% alacrity on a fight with no downtime, and I don't think I've had stability once. And it's kind of frustrating. But I think people approach Guild Wars kind of like a single player game. And this is the kind of I talk to more casual players about this a lot, where it's like, I want to go into this content and I want to do the least I can do to still get my clear, which is fine. You don't owe anyone skill. But I do think that acknowledging what you're capable of doing and trying to do it is important to being a good group member in group content. You want to contribute to other people's success. And I think that if 10 people are showing up to a squad and they're like, I just want to play auto attack Hammer Guardian, it's like, sure, what else are you doing to try to get people across the finish line? Usually it's not much. Even outside of commanding, even as a squad member, you can do a lot to help guide a group to victory. And a lot of players I've found don't tend to do that, which is fine, but at least some players need to do it demonstrably. Otherwise, clears aren't going to happen.
It's true. It's true. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you really solve this problem, right? Like it's one of those things where I've talked about this endlessly. It's like, okay, well, yeah, people don't like taking up. There's various reasons for that. And I'm under no illusion that it's easy to tag up or something. Like that's crazy. Like, people feel legitimate fear in doing this. I'm not going to disparage that. It's true. People are nervous, and then people like Bozo go and try to make them less nervous so that they'll do it, right? The issue is that people still don't do it, right? Bozo will get some people to do it, but there's still a large group of people that won't read the guide, right? And they will not feel like they can do it.
It's the same principle as advertising, right? Like, you show your ads to the widest fields that you get some people that are curious, some of those that will Google it, some of those that will click to your link or whatever, right? Like, if Bozo makes a guide, maybe there's a bunch of people that are like, maybe I'll read this. And then a smaller number of people are like, maybe I'll buy a commander tag. And then a smaller number of people are like, maybe I'll lead a group once. And you're never going to convert on the whole audience of people that are engaging with your thing. But if you do that enough and you keep finding slices of people that will lead once or twice, that's going to lead to a much more noticeable increase in this sort of thing than just expecting all of the people that read a guide at any given time to convert on that guide and make a group successful.
Getting even one person is better than zero.
Right.
And I think that's why these guides are so helpful. It's just, I just look at it and it does feel a bit weird though, because I think more people would probably do it if there was I'm just gonna say, I just think there should be an incentive to do it. In World versus World, absolutely. I still think it's nerve-wracking to tag up, but at least there's an incentive for doing it, right? You get more rewards, and that's a big deal, right? That's a huge deal. So but I think if you did that in PvE, like that would be awesome, right? Like PvE is way easier to tag up than World versus World. World versus World, you're like leading people to their demise. But in PvE, you're mostly doing like a problem solving thing, or just you're kind of playing organizer. I think people should be compensated for being the organizer. I don't have any problem with people getting like additional map experience bonus thing or whatever, or getting like an extra gold at the meta, or like it doesn't have to be huge, but anything that would just say, hey, we get that you're doing more work than the 14 AFK heralds in your group. Here's a little thing.
Hey, at least I get more might than most players will. I'll take it.
I mean, also, I feel that the tag itself should be free. And it doesn't need to just be, hey, click button, get tag. But, you know, it could be locked behind an achievement. Like if you do X amount of meta events, or, you know, do something that where you have to work your way through content to then unlock it.
Yeah,
right?
A tag should indicate that you know how content operates, not that you had 300 gold and knew how to do the jumping puzzle to get the one with the kitty ears. Like,
well, I think that the kitty ears, you can get the basic
that one should be
free.
300 gold.
Yeah, you pay 300 gold for the cat ears, okay? Like, we got to keep it classy around here, you know?
They should make it so it's 100 gold for each color you want to unlock. So you've got to go back and do it again.
Now you're just trying to have a gold sink.
Okay, wait.
Listen, yours isn't a stranger to it.
I've actually spoken
give me
about
infusions for the Catmander.
That's true. I've spoken about this topic a couple times in the podcast. My official stance to sort of go over it again quickly is I think that it should be free for 10-person squad. Yeah. And maybe, or there should be like a small achievement. Like, okay, rewind. I think that the mentor tag should be the commander tag for 10-person squad. So you do like a very short mastery. It just basically shows you have a little bit of experience in the game. That's all. Very small hurdle. Do that. For 50-person, I think it should be like a cool, almost scavenger hunt like achievement where
get
it's
drops
like
from X number of meta events or something.
Yeah, do a wide variety of different events, or do like one event or each event once, or even like pick half of the events and do them. I don't know, but it should be something like that to demonstrate that you're.
You know, be really cool, Snap.
Yeah,
if they added drops to each, like say the AB meta, right? If they had each wing, each north, south, east, and west give a different item that unlocks achievement. That way, hey, you had to go through and do all 4 sides, and then dragon stand, you know, do all the paths, and then you unlock a piece, right? And as you do that, you get, you know, you progress to getting the 50-man tag.
Maybe they could do titles tied to the tag, so you would have like epic Catmander character name, or like legendary Catmander, of like successes on some number of things, so players have some sort of like buy-in. They can be like, oh, this commander is really experienced, I should join up with them, and then maybe that'll coax people into participating more in content. But not really sure if that solves the problem of getting people.
I had a very similar idea, actually. I thought that the commander tag should have different colors or styles depending on your experience. So, I mean, here they should separate world versus world commander tags, and they should give you like, I don't know, essentially like laurels around it, like extra design on your tag as you gain more experience doing that. Like as a commander, you've captured X number of objectives, or you've slain X number of players as a commander. And I think they should do the same in PvE. If you're in a squad with over 30 people, you get credit based on the number of meta events you do, and then you can get like some kind of fancy art around the tag.
Catmander. Maybe PvE it needs like Goosemander for Sneb.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, right? Like they have infinite possibilities with that, but if they wanted to make it really simple, they do like laurels around it, and like you slowly add gold laurels or that kind of thing, right? I actually think that people would be like really keen on that. I think
adding progression to the commander tab definitely coax people into doing more for it. We've seen Guild Wars players throw tens of thousands of hours at the game for less.
Yeah.
Give them a really pretty commander tag, and then suddenly some population of players will be like, oh my god, I have to do every meta for the rest of the year so I can have the cool gold flowers or whatever.
And you make it 20 AP.
Oh no.
Now you're talking. Hellmaster has it in 2 days tops.
Yeah. This is risky. You put AP on anything and people start getting really upset.
Oh my god. Oh my god. There's not even AP on the legendary conqueror titles. I remember getting in arguments with people that were like, no, I can't have every achievement in Guild Wars. And it's like, yes, that's the point. It's an achievement. You have to achieve it.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Yeah, I see both sides of that one. I don't know how to feel about that exactly. But the commander take thing is super interesting because I think that there are ways to incentivize more people, but the reality is like, will that actually make more people do it? I mean, here's kind of like a side convo for that, right?
Hold on. I'm going to use the restroom real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll just ask the question, Bozo, and I can talk for a bit. Okay, so here's the thing. Imagine that they're going to alter raid rewards. Okay? How much would they have to improve raid rewards before more people do them? So let's assume that everything about raids stays the same. How you get groups, the LFG. What would they have to provide players to get more people to do raids?
Ooh, that's a hard one because as someone who does raids every week, because I enjoy the content, I would say if you were trying to get the mass population to do raids, I would say they would need to even it out to either double or triple the rewards. So, like 4 gold per boss, and then maybe like 3 unID'd or something like that. But also, not even maybe even the raw gold, but if they purely gave a pretty good exchange for LI, I think that would also potentially help the situation. But I mean, realistically, I don't think any amount is going to really incentivize people unless if everything's the same currently with all the systems. I don't think upping the rewards is going to solve the problem.
Yeah. Basically, I don't think there's anything that they could do to make more people do raids, because what would happen is it would just create an economy. To be clear, I don't think there's any reward system that they could put in place right now that would make more people play raids in the way that I think people envision it. If you right now went and added a bunch of skins, people probably wouldn't play raids more. They would only play more by virtue of like buying raid cells and stuff. They would only go until they got the skin and then they would stop. I don't know that there's really like a good way to say, okay, well, we'll increase the rewards more, because if people don't want to do the content, they're just going to find a way around it.
So any system is going to have bad actors trying to take advantage of it. The challenge of systems design isn't minimizing bad actors, just like I'm going to get a raid cell for the sake of the skin or whatever. The challenge is in maximizing the ratio of bad actors to people actually engaging with the system. Like, people are going to do raid cells for titles or whatever forever. It's been happening. It's going to keep happening. The real challenge is in making the rewards either desirable enough or making the floor of reaching the rewards low enough to minimize people's desire to buy in. Because like I'm not even kidding. I could probably go find the screenshot. I have a screenshot in my Discord server of someone asking, or someone paying, I think 300 Mystic coins for a clear of Wing 8. Not CM, Wing 8. If someone wants to pay for these things to be done so they can just get it over with and have whatever reward from that they want, they will. But it's about the maximizing that ratio.
Yes. I think I kind of agree. I'm trying to think of exactly where I stand on that. I think
I'm
yes.
also conflicted.
Yeah, I think yes. I think yes, you are. I don't really care about the people that are gonna buy raids. I guess my point is like, and when I say that, I mean like they're gonna do it. Like who cares? It doesn't really matter. I just don't think that we're gonna get more people raiding consistently because you up the gold by 3 gold. I think the problem actually lies in having unique, unobtainable elsewhere rewards from raids. If you don't have that, there's no push to do it because
For a
everything
while, that
is
was legendary armor. And that's
exactly.
not the case anymore.
Exactly, because everything is the same, right? Like if I care about getting gold, I'm just gonna go and AFK meta events until I have a whole bunch of gold, right? Like that's what's gonna happen. Now, I can do raids to get gold, but unless I enjoy the raids, I'm probably not gonna do them for gold. So that motivator just doesn't matter. So it has to be something bigger. It has to be like the raid armor. And now raids don't have anything like that. So why would you raid in Guild Wars 2? You have to ask yourself that. That's a really interesting question. Like the chat could answer this, the YouTube comments. Why would you raid in Guild Wars 2? Is there a reason?
I mean, if you look at other motivators for MMO, like other MMOs who focus on heavily on raiding, the only reason you do that is because of that vertical progression. Like the incentive is, hey, I need to keep my ear score up so that way I can continue to do content and play the game. Whereas Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that.
The vertical progression conversation is actually one. I'm glad you brought that up because it's a conversation that I've wanted to have for a really long time. Vertical progression versus horizontal progression is mostly a conversation about intrinsic motivation from playing a game versus extrinsic motivation of playing the game. A lot of MMO players want extrinsic motivation, telling them you get better things, you get more things. This is like justifiable in the context of the game, and people want to engage with that on those terms, and that's fine. But largely, that's kind of the pretense built up by the genre. My background isn't in MMOs. I don't like MMOs. The fact that I'm a Guild Wars player is kind of a fluke. I love this game to death, but it's not because I come from WoW or 14. It's because I come from fighting games. And Guild Wars 2 scratches a lot of the same like moment to moment flexibility and adaptation that I get from, playing a great game of like Guilty Gear or Street Fighter, or whatever. Like, and those are games that are intrinsically motivated. I started playing fighting games in 2014, watching an 8-year-old video at the time teaching me how to wave dash and L cancel in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Like, there was no extrinsic motivation for me to do that. It was just so I could be good at the game that I played with my friends. And I think it's a culture issue more than anything else. People expect, vertical progression and extrinsic motivation because it's what they've come to expect from the genre, but I don't think that necessarily means it's the way forward. I think that incentive is good, but I think that it's not necessarily the end all be all. I think that there's an attitude problem, not in the sense that people have a bad attitude, but the ways in which people approach the game is different than the terms the game wants to be met on as it is right now.
Yeah, no, I think I know what you're getting at. Yeah, if I understand correctly, you're kind of saying why you're kind of asking the question, why should people only do things for rewards, right? Why can't things just be for fun? Why can't you just be like, this is a good time. I'm meeting some friends and having fun.
I have not played as much Guild Wars 2 recently as I have when I was like really grinding and trying to get really good. I grinded to be the #1 Willbender on Wingman for strikes in one patch cycle. It was like November of 2023 or whatever. Not because I got a reward for it, but because it felt good. Being good at a thing feels good implicitly. I don't sit in the lab when I'm booting up like Guilty Gear because I'm like, man, I want to practice this Bridget set play. I'm doing it like I'm not doing that because I want to get a cool skin. I'm doing that because it means that I can enjoy the game more. It means that I can play more of the game in a way that's more engaging to me.
I guess for me, raids are just not just raids, but like pretty much everything Guild Wars 2 suffers from a similar problem. It's that people constantly point to rewards and say that rewards are the reason that people don't do certain content. But I actually I'm conflicted. This goes back to the conflict, right? I think this is true to some extent. I think if it didn't feel rewarding, that people probably would do it less. But I think the reality is that a lot of games, not just Guild Wars 2, but a lot of games now, instead of making something fun, they make it rewarding so that people feel compelled to do it rather than to do it because they like it. And this is true. I mean, here's a great example in Guild Wars 2. People don't do world versus world because they like it. They do it because they want the gift of battle. I'm not saying everyone. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that only go into world versus world to get the gift of battle and never go back. And they hate every second they're in there. But they feel compelled to do it because of the reward. They have to do it. So this is an interesting problem, because then we go down this line of thinking where we're like, okay, well, wouldn't this suggest that then we're saying that you should be able to get everything everywhere? And now we've gone kind of in a full circle, because the answer to that is no. There needs to be exclusive rewards for things so that people feel motivated to try certain things. But then we also think, well, but do you really want people playing different game modes and game types where they're not having fun, where they really are just compelled to play it? I feel like this is a very interesting conflict.
A lot of it is how mandatory that reward structure is. Like, you look at gifts of battle, and for a lot of players, that's functionally mandatory. If you want to make a legendary, you have to do world v world. But like, if you want a skin from like Mount Balrior or whatever, like, sure, that's a skin. You can have other skins, but like, it's a like a bottleneck on how players approach getting legendaries. So world v world becomes a lot more mandatory for that reason. But like, you don't need the skin. You might want it. That's fine. If you do want it, then just do the content. But the need for that progression to come from something you might not want to do is very different than a want driving you to get over the initial hurdle.
I'm going to say a crazy statement. Are you ready for this? PvP, well, I don't think this is that crazy. PvP is played by more people than people play PvP more than raids. I think
PvP?
This is because, yes, people engage with PvP in Guild Wars 2 more than raids. I believe this is because it is more fun to do PvP than raids. And that's a pretty wild statement, because of the insane amount of toxicity and uneven matchmaking and all kinds of problems that are associated with PvP. But you know why it's more fun to do PvP? It's more fun to do PvP because you don't have to sit there and play this like social game.
Yeah.
It's way easier to just jump into PvP. You can just
PvP
go, I feel like having some fun by playing a PvP match. And guess what? There's not a ludicrous number of rewards and things. They don't dump gold at you for playing PvP. You just kind of play and it happens. I don't think people play PvP because of the rewards. I think people play PvP because they can easily access a game.
Matchmaking is super critical. And Guild Wars was made at a time that's really interesting. There's like pre-matchmaking online games and post-matchmaking online games. Like, look at TF2 versus Overwatch. TF2 for a long time, it does now, didn't have matchmaking. Overwatch did. So a lot of TF2 players jumped over to Overwatch because they were like, oh, cool, it has matchmaking. I could just find games now. Where Guild Wars both has and doesn't have matchmaking. Raids do not have it. World v World doesn't have it, but PvP does. Which is why I imagine a lot of players do end up going towards PvP despite not liking it, like you said, just because matchmaking lowers the friction more than the toxicity increases it.
PvP that's has the weights, right? It has the ascension. So there are some unique rewards and titles and things you can get from playing PvP or participating in tournaments and those sorts of things.
You started on Ascension. I needed the legendary backpack. I got Ascension in the shortest amount of time I possibly could, and I burned myself out on PvP that I have not played it since.
Yeah, I have the Ascension as well, because I used to play a lot of PvP. But isn't this interesting though? I don't think we ever think about this as a community. It is fact. People play PvP more than raids. It just is. Like, it's so much more accessible, right?
Well, so let's boil it down to like the main types of content in the game, right? Like if we're saying PvP is more popular than raids, we all also know that open world is the most popular. And why is it? Because it's on a timer. People don't have to think to join. They just say, oh, it's XX30, time to go to this waypoint and do content, right?
The clock is effectively your matchmaking queue.
Correct.
Yeah, open world, not only do you get like the insane rewards, but the groups are so accessible. It's so easy to get into a group. You just
what
show
I'm hearing
up.
From this is that every raid group should fire every 30 minutes, and you should not be allowed to start an encounter at the intervals in between. We fixed raids. We solved it. We solved the problem.
Okay. Well, here's another interesting like mental experiment here. It was brought up in the chat here. Think about Dragon's End is an interesting case here because it's open world, easily accessible, yet there's a fail state.
It's also harder than a lot of raid encounters and strike encounters, I would say.
But it's not harder than it's not harder than PvP. You kind of you know what I'm trying to say here? Like
PvP depends.
It seems but does it? Right? I think this is an interesting thing because people were really upset about things in Dragon's End, but I don't even know how to explain this. I feel like I'm like trapped in this loop now, like thinking about this. For some reason, in PvP, people are kind of like just okay with playing it. Sure, they'll complain about the toxicity and whatever, but people still press the button and go. And
it's because the rules are intuitive. Every raid encounter asks you to solve new problems and understand a new context. In PvP, it's you hold more points than the other guys do. And that's easy.
Yeah, I think
I don't even think it's the mechanics of PvP.
Well, I mean, PvP is obviously less popular than open world, right? But like this is an interesting thing, right? Like, is PvP more popular than Dragon's End?
Yes, I would say that without a shadow of a doubt. Yes.
Isn't that interesting? And but why? And I think it goes back to the same thing. It's harder to get a group for Dragon's End than PvP. And not only that, it's harder to get a successful group for Dragon's End than a successful group for PvP. Because in PvP, you've got matchmaking and stuff, right? What if there was a button that you could press that instantly puts you into a group or that queued you for a group to do the meta?
So interesting that you bring that up. I don't remember exactly which article this was. I could go find it, but someone in chat might be able to faster than I could. There was, in one of the initial postings about Visions of Eternity, ANET mentioned, one, reworking old gameplay systems, and two, talking about the new fights we're getting in Visions of Eternity as raid encounters, which I think is the new verbiage for raid. Like, there's going to be raid wings and raid encounters instead of raids and strikes.
That's good.
That's my theory, at least. The reason why I mentioned that, though, is because the reworking of old systems might be LFG to solve the problems that you've brought up here, where it's effectively matchmaking a lot like Final Fantasy XIV's roulette system or whatever. Obviously, these fights need to be simple at a baseline, because if you're going to throw players into it in a roulette, they need to understand what they're getting into. But at the same time, if you can lower the friction for getting into an encounter, people just queue up for a raid encounter and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll do the Whisper of Jormag raid encounter. You just pop in, do the thing, and pop out. You're done.
Okay. So this is all coming full circle now. Okay. Somebody in the chat said, a couple people in the chat said that Dragon's End takes forever. And I'm sympathetic to that. But let's put this into perspective a little bit. How long does Dragon's End really take?
Are we counting pre-events? That's the big distinction.
I'm not going to count pre-events because I think you need to just start from the moment it starts till the moment it ends.
Pre-events are the really limiting factor, I think. I would guess 30, 45, about as long as,
I think it's 30 to 40 minutes if you start from the escort. Yeah, I think it's 30 to 40 minutes. I could be slightly off with that. Okay, so the thing takes 40 minutes. Let's say. that is effectively like 3 PvP matches. Is it that people don't like the idea of doing 3 PvP matches and losing all 3 in a row? Is that like weight too consequential? You kind of see what I'm saying there? Like if you fail Dragon's End after 35 minutes, you've effectively lost 3 PvP matches in a row. It's like the same kind of feeling.
Well, the reward payout for Dragon's End is much higher, so the risk is higher, right? You're assuming more risk. It's also more structured. PvP you can kind of jump into, and if I know, hey, I need to hold these nodes, I need to stop them from holding these nodes, I can play that game on my own. I can turn off team chat, not look at a single thing, and play in a way that advances my group's objective. In Dragon's End, you need to be able to follow instructions to some extent. And that plus the risk being higher makes the experience more, what's the word I'm looking for? Tense, I guess. It makes the experience more
it's more consequential.
Frustrating.
Right?
Yeah, consequential for sure.
But also like our player base, I would, and I'm making a broad generalization, I would say it's a lot of people like us, right? In that 25 to 35, 40-year-old range where we have full-time jobs. We may have kids. I want to pop in, do a game or two, a PvP, and feel like I did something. Even if I lost, hey, there's a chance I could have won. If I had to take 20 minutes, right? So, if you have to take 20 to 40 minutes to do one event, and you're like, oh, that's all of my gameplay time. Because think about it, the community had the same exact reaction to Drizzlewood. And Drizzlewood is like a really profitable map, but once they split up they had the south and then they released the north. And if you wanted to do both of them, that's like a long time to play a map.
It is, yeah. Okay, so here's where this also so now we got to shift focus just a little bit here. This is where it now gets even more interesting. I saw on Reddit that there was somebody that was saying that they're not interested. I forget like the exact purpose, but they mentioned that they weren't really interested in trying raids, but they were kind of like interested in trying strike CMs or something. I might have the context slightly off, but I was reading this and I was like, okay. I asked them the question. I said, well,
that's crazy.
Why? Wait, do you have the Coke that's the orange one?
I do, because of you. I bought it.
Hell yeah, brother.
You bought it.
Did y'all try I had a friend put me onto that, and that was the most like confusing flavor experience I've ever had. It was so
creamsicle.
It's really good.
Step 2.
I recognize it immediately. Anyway, sorry.
I think I'm actually a good person to speak on that because I was not interested in doing raids when I got into the game. I was in a guild, people were doing strikes, I just hopped in, but strikes had much less barrier to entry because a raid wing, if I fail and we clear, suddenly I don't have that instance anymore. Right?
But
like
is
that,
it
I have to find another
reality. That's my question.
My point is by tying the consequences of one fight to one fight to one fight, you end up changing the relationship the player has to fight 1 versus fight 2 versus fight 3. Whereas if I can do fight, separate fight, I can be like, okay, cool. Now I'm feeling really, really, really good about I'm feeling really, really good about Cairn, but I'm not feeling as confident on Samurag. Now I can, in a strike like piecemeal context, you can just go straight to Samurag and practice that fight over and over again.
It's psychological. You're 100% right. It's psychological.
Yeah, the buy-in is much, much higher on raids.
If I say, can you do KO? You go, yes. If I say, can you do Wing 1? You might say no, even if you can do 2 of the bosses.
And I think that's why ArenaNet is moving towards raid encounters as their content release paradigm, and it's why they were reticent to go back to raid wings. And I imagine they saw a similar issue with Wing 8, and that might also be why we have, the 2 fights you can choose between to do in any order at the start of Wing 8. I haven't played much since Janthier Wilds came out, so I can't remember the names of the 2. But like,
wait. Interesting hypothetical then. Interesting hypothetical. Let's say right now they get rid of all wings, right? Wings are gone, right? There are no more wings for raids.
Poor birds. All those geese. No more wings.
Instead, what they do is they just go lizard. Thanks for the raid. Instead, what they do is they go, okay, everything is individual bosses now. You can still start at Veil Guardian and progress through and kill all three because they don't want to change everything so much, right? But now you can start at every single boss, and instead of you can either just enter the wing, or when you go up, it just gives you the list of bosses to go to. Does that psychological shift get more people to do those bosses?
I would say yes. I would say 100% yes.
I would say no.
Really?
Ooh, tension.
I love when there's disagreement on the podcast. Yes. This is what we're here for.
Okay, well, why?
Right.
Why?
This is why I say no. So in the land of hypotheticals, I do agree that having the ability to choose the boss you want to do helpful. However, it doesn't solve the problem of trying to get 10 people together.
Yes.
And have one leader to organize it all and remove the stigma around leading raids, because not only do you have to get 10 people together, you need to know all of the mechanics, right? And if you mess up on them, they're going to roast you on that, depending on the group. You also now need to make sure you have not just quickness and alacrity, but you now also have to do the mental math of, all right, how much product time do I need? Do I need all the might and all the other boons, right? And so I don't believe that being able to pick the raid boss is going to help as much as fixing the underlying issues with the raid structure as a whole.
I completely agree, for what it's worth. I 100% agree with you. I think that it's a matter of degrees, though. I think that making it so players can jump into one fight would help dramatically. In the sense that I see strike squads pop up and go down much more often than I see raid squads pop up and go down. Just the turnover on that mode is faster, so it helps players get into the content they want to do faster. But also, it definitely needs extra help, like matchmaking of some sort, which gets complicated by Guild Wars having a very flexible role system. It's not like 14 or WoW, where it's like, I'm the tank, I'm the DPS, I am the healer. It's like, cool, I'm quick DPS, but I'm playing power quick harbinger, so I'm only going to be giving like some fury and swiftness, so my healer needs to be responsible for more might. Like the way the role allocation works is very different and granular, but there are ways to build and balance around that, both on the content design side and the play design side with elite specs and builds and whatnot. It needs a holistic approach, but I think any fraction of those things will help. And I think the more of those things they execute on, the more it compounds on the end result of getting players into the endgame content more regularly.
I mean, what you're going to see is you're going to see LFG, and it's going to be 8 to 10 LFG posts trying to do like Karn or MO or like all of the easy ones. And you're going to see a lot less people trying to do do a full wing.
Players build core competency doing the easy fights. I didn't get into I would not have cleared harder fights if I hadn't been running like IBS Fast 5 for like 4, 5, 6 months, just because I was like, that's what I was comfortable doing, right? And then doing that, I got comfortable with my build, and then it built this sort of like nagging feeling in my head, which was like, cool, I'm really good at Divren now. I wonder what other content I can do with this build and succeed in. I want once that content becomes rote and boring, players look for new challenges. No one wants to do the same easy stuff forever. I mean, they might if they want loot, but then that's their prerogative. But by increasing, by making the step from one fight to the next fight to the next fight smaller, players can follow that path into whatever level of competency they want more reliably without needing to worry about the friction of getting to the next step.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
I'm going to give some opinions. Strikes and raids have just different pros and cons. It's really interesting psychologically, though. For the commander, I actually find that strikes can be a bit annoying because you're just doing like one It's like a one-off in some cases. Now, granted, there are some cases where people will say, "Oh, I'm going to do all the EOD strikes, or I'm going to do all of the IBS. I'm going to do IBS 5 or like whatever,
or
right?
all the dailies, or
Yeah, all daily group. You can do those kinds of things, and that's great. But it still feels like people will just leave after one. That happens a lot, right? But when you're in the middle of a wing, people are way less likely to leave because it's going to be really hard for them to find that one boss of the wing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's like a little bit of
even in the groups
incentive
that
to
I'm in,
stay and stick around.
my static runs daily strikes, private dragon storm, daily EOD, or like IBS fast 5, private dragon storm, daily EOD, daily Soto strikes, like pretty regularly. And very frequently players will join that group for just until it finishes the one that they're done with and then bounce. And it's frustrating, but like it happens. People are going to leave like raids as well too, right? Like if my cat starts tearing up the carpet and I need to go like be like, hey, don't do that. I might just drop the group and then go take care of that other stuff, right? Like there's a natural stopping point between fights regardless. I think that the way that's a circumstance where rewards end up being really impactful because if you need to see the whole thing all the way through to get the rewards, players are much more likely to stick it out. You can just batch them differently if you segment them into individual fights.
Okay, I want to take a big shift here because for the YouTube viewers, we just had like a really cool raid. We've have a bunch of new players that are in the chat right now. So I think this is a good time to sort of talk about some like new player tips and tricks.
Sure.
I'll start with kind of my biggest tip for new players. Guild Wars 2 has an abundance of systems to both its detriment and its success. One of the hardest parts about being a new Guild Wars 2 player is trying to engage and learn all of these systems. When you try to do that all at the same time, it's certainly like drinking out of a fire hose. It is painful and not necessarily the greatest experience. So what you need to do is sort of drip feed yourself the learning of these systems. The game does have a system to introduce systems, ironically, but it's called the Character Adventure Guide. This is perhaps the most powerful achievement tool in the game. So if you go in your game, you press H, you go to your achievements, it says Character Adventure Guide right under the dailies, and it says volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the most valuable thing you can engage with. What this is going to do is it's going to get you to go to certain maps, gather certain materials, craft certain things. It's going to get you to do certain parts of the story or put on a piece of gear. The reason this is very valuable is it's going to force you to engage with a whole bunch of systems as you go along. The second reason it's really valuable is that it gives you a ton of experience. So if you don't want to boost and you want to just level naturally, I'm a super experienced player, so the way that I engage with the game will be different than a brand new player, but I can get from level 1 to 80 in less than 10 hours using the Character Adventure Guide. I think that a new player could do that in probably under 22 hours or so. It's quite possible. Yeah. I don't know for sure, but it depends on kind of your pace and style and whatever. But this is a good way to kind of slowly leapfrog you into the end game where you'll eventually, well, I mean, that could be just fashion, but it'll eventually get you to engage with a whole bunch of different things. And then you'll be in a much better position come level 80 because you've engaged with all of these different systems.
I'm really glad you actually mentioned fashion because I think fashion is one of the like best motivating things for new players to like go into other modes and stuff. Like find whatever's exciting to you, right? Like if you want to do open world meta events because that's super compelling, like start working in that direction, find stuff that's cool, like look at the ways that people engage with the game and start pointing yourself in that direction, but like let character fashion or whatever guide you to other things. Like I don't do dungeons very frequently, but one of my favorite outfits on one of my characters uses armor from Heart of the Waves. So I just went and did dungeons, and then maybe another character I have needed something from like a PvP reward track or whatever. Like every piece of gear in this game you can acquire from some source somewhere. Let that like fashion impulse kind of be your guide to go try other things and move around and explore the game a little bit. Because when you're doing it because of something that you're motivated by, then you have this driving force to get you over the initial friction of like, oh God, I really want this skin from this boss in one of the raid wings, but I want it. So that'll get you over the hump, and maybe that gets you to learn more about raid wings, and you build enough competency that once you have it, you're now curious about doing the other stuff. Letting things motivate you in different directions helps you have a more holistic appreciation of the game, in my experience.
I mean, I think that's good advice. Yeah, generally, if you're doing stuff that you aren't super motivated by, it's going to be hard to like retain that information and otherwise engage with it.
The other thing that I think would be really helpful, I see a lot of players going into end game content, and when I say end game, I mean that very broadly. It's not just raids or strikes or PvP or World v World or open world. It's whatever end game means to you. There's certain ways that the community talks about it, but take what's important to you, and that's your end game. People want what's easy because they want to access end game content. And I think that as a new player, it would benefit more people to look at things and go, what's interesting to me? I think the community has a tendency to scare people away from high complexity stuff, in the sense that, like, if you're a new player and you think Weaver just looks so cool, absolutely learn it. Like, do not be intimidated by the fact that other people are saying this is hard. It probably is. But that also doesn't mean that the floor isn't going to be accessible. Let yourself be excited about these things and let that excitement carry you to understanding stuff. Maybe you won't like it. Go somewhere else and try it again. See if there's another thing that's exciting to you. There's tons of stuff in this game. You'll find something that's exciting and also grabs you. But like, let the excitement drive you more than the fear of doing something hard.
It's good advice. That's really good advice, actually. Yeah, it's kind of like the life advice I was talking about before we did the podcast. I was like, you just got to go and do stuff, right? You got to be willing to just try things, be motivated by something. If you really like the idea of playing Weaver, if you want to play Core Necro, you do that. Now, granted, there may be some ramifications for that, like you're not going to be able to do as much damage, or you might die a lot. But I mean, that's part of the journey. And when you're a new player, you need to experience all parts of it. I actually think that the Guild Wars 2 community does people a disservice when they try to tell people to avoid certain things. Yeah. Because avoiding that means you won't understand it. It's better to understand. Like, you fail, you then gain some knowledge about maybe why people might say that it's harder to play.
Going to the difficulty conversation real quick, something that I think that people get lost in a lot is they're like, oh, like I mentioned with Weaver, don't play this, it's hard. Or, Deadeye or Willbender or Hollowsmith or Mirage, whatever. People are be like, don't play this, it's hard. But they're all hard in different ways. Like, Willbender has less skills it needs to worry about than Weaver does, but it is an incredibly frenetic build with a completely non-deterministic rotation. And to a lot of players, that's terrifying. But to me, it's really engaging. I can't play Weaver. It's a lot for me to juggle, and I kind of get stuck in decision paralysis. I'm a reasonably good player, and I'm intimidated by that build. Other people tell me it's really easy. You get the loop down, you do the loop, and you're done. Like, no one can tell you what is easy or hard for you, which is why you need to let the excitement motivate you above literally anything else, because that is the only way you're going to find things that speak to you personally. Otherwise, you're just going to be afraid of everything and not do anything.
100%. Bozo, what's your advice?
So my advice is less broad and less philosophical. My takeaway is, if you're a new player and you hit level 80 and you're ready to get into the end game, if you really want to learn your class, I know a lot of people say go to the aerodrome and hit the golem. And while that is a fantastic tool, I would say only do that for a max of 1 hour. Like even if it's over 2 days, you do 30 minutes and 30 minutes, but go out into the real world, do world bosses, and just practice your rotation, because you're going to learn so much more about your class. You're going to learn more about how to how to recover your rotation and just learn how to be a better overall player, because you're going to be trying to do your rotation while doing the mechanics and you're going to mess up, and that's okay. Right. But you're not pressing one. You're not just sitting there and you're pressing one. You're doing more than 90% of people who do open world. And you are the real hero for doing that. And once it's time for you to go to strikes or fractals or dungeons or raids, you're going to be proficient in your character to just go in there and you focus on purely the mechanics of whatever content you're trying to learn, and you're less worrying about the class that you're playing. You're going to be able to drive your class, and open world makes it so unconsequential for you to learn that.
Yeah.
And you get good loot.
Very cool.
I had another piece of advice for new players, and it's gone. It just vanished. I had something, and then it
don't worry. I've got more. No, but I definitely agree with everything you just said. I think a lot of people try to suggest to players that they need to play in a vacuum, but that's not a good idea because the world is not a vacuum. So it's better to go practice just doing fun stuff. And kind of going back to the conversation we were having before, do stuff that you like. Like if you want to improve, the best thing you can do when you have a class that you're playing and trying to improve with that class is just go do other stuff you like. And then as a side effect, you'll improve at whatever class you're playing. Yeah. It sounds like one of our new friends here is an NG main. That's very exciting because engineer is the coolest class in the game. Just saying. But if you're a new NG,
that's not I don't understand. I don't understand.
If you're a new engineer, I would suggest that you just give everything a bit of a try. Engineer might kind of seem complex because of the tool belt skills and like, you know,
it's no more or less complex than other classes or builds. It's just complex in different ways.
Exactly. I think the best thing to do as an NG is to try out all the kits, slowly learn all the skills, and then maybe pick one build and start blasting at it. But I love Hollowsmith is my favorite thing.
Hollowsmith, I think I actually was talking with some friends about this recently. I made a tier list of how cool I think each class's design is. I think Hollow is like top 1 or top 3 most like slam dunk designs in the game. I don't even play engineer, and I think Hollowsmith is just such a triumph of game design. So it's so cool.
I gotta ask, PBM or ECSU Hollow?
Thermal release valve. Yes, we love playing Gear Devil. Yes.
Hold on, I just had this like moment where I like immediately forgot which does which. Isn't SQ the one that you have to balance?
You get an extra 50 and you have to balance it, yep.
Yeah,
and then PBM, you just let it explode.
Yeah, I don't like letting it explode. I like balancing. There's something therapeutic about it. Yes. I think it's very fun. I don't like it when it explodes. It gives me anxiety. I like balancing it now, so I always play SQ. Yeah, it's the most fun to me. But Hollow is just so like, I don't know how to explain this. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but I played so many PvP games as Hollow, and like the way that you move using Sword 3, using Forge 2, the leap skills, for those that are maybe new, you use leap skills to kind of move around faster. And then in PvE, it's just so smooth, right? Like there's no other way to describe it.
Yes. One of the coolest things about Hollowsmith to me was actually a bit of trivia on the website. I think it's from an interview that ANET gave. But trivia on Hollowsmith on the wiki says each vertical trait line in the Hollowsmith fits a theme. Other elite specializations tend to theme traits across horizontal lines. During development, the themes were steps to, quote, build your own lightsaber. The final product shifted focus towards Photon Forge, where each vertical trait line concerns a different component, the projector, the crystal, and the heat system, which I think is the coolest shit in the world.
Yeah, it is an excellent designed class. It's
so cool.
The other part of our it's just for context. It's Ghoul and Ghoul, right? And they are a stream. I think they're a couple streamer duo, and they just raided us. So there's a whole bunch of they're new players themselves. A bunch of the people in their community are new, and apparently the other half of Ghoul and Ghoul plays Ranger, and I approve of that as well because Ranger would probably be considered my second main because I really like Druid a lot. I used to play Druid a lot in PvP as well, back when Bunker Druid was busted and Staff 3 had evade frames.
Hold on, real quick. I want to see how good our coverage of classes are. Sneb, what would you say your main 3 classes are?
Ooh, I probably play NG, Druid, and Necro the most.
Mine are Guardian, Revenant, and Thief. Bozo, if you're the remaining 3, this is going to be so hype.
No, so I'm an NG main, but then I float between Necromancer and my new favorite, which is Catalyst.
Catalyst is so cool.
Quick Catalyst is so it feels almost as good as Hollowsmith in terms of the rotation, and I love buttery smooth rotations.
I am also a Revenant player because I've beat. This is interesting because when it comes to like the highest level PvE content, I usually play Revenant. I just realized that. It's
so funny.
TOFCM,
I was similar for a while. I Revenant was my main for the longest until EOD dropped. And even after I really played Willbender, I would be like, I'm not a Guardian player. I'm a Revenant player. I just really love Willbender. And I think that when my play hours on my Guardian beat out my Revenant, I was like, dang it, I am a Guardian main. But it's like there was a while in there where I was definitely coping, and I was like, no, I swear I'm still a Revenant main. Where it's like that's where my heart was. The same way that you're like, I'm an NG player, even though I'm spending 95% of my time on Revenant.
Yeah, I mean, like Herald is one of the best, like thematically RP classes, like in the game.
Also, before I forget, I remembered the bit of advice that I wanted to give to the chat real quick. Please find a community of people that love the game and learn with them. Find a streamer you like, join a Discord like Raid Academy or Hardstuck or Snow Crows or Discretize or whatever Discord you stumble into, and then ask questions and be so thrilled to be wrong. You are never going to learn if you aren't going to admit that you're going to be wrong and you need to be wrong to ask questions. Just go in there, ask questions, be happy with being wrong, and learn with people whose faces or like whose avatars, I suppose, you get to know. That will carry you through anything.
This game is so much better with players.
Yes.
With people you like to play with. Surprisingly, an MMO, it's crazy, but like
after playing on the staging client in front of like 10,000 people, I gotta say the game is a lot better with people playing.
I imagine fighting that frog in a totally empty map must have been like a harrowing experience.
Yeah, that was sure exciting for everybody to watch. Yeah.
Also, I'm not going to tell you where it is. The frog is a rite of passage. You'll know what I mean when you get there. The frog is a rite of passage.
Yeah, the frog. It's important.
The frog is a rite of passage.
The frog. That's the real question.
I think it's harder than most raid bosses. I'm going to be so for real with you. I think 1v1ing that frog is harder than most raid bosses. It's so difficult.
I don't think I can 1v1 the frog, but I can kill
I don't think I can either. That frog is so scary, dude. It's my sleep paralysis demon. I wake up in a cold sweat like, oh my God.
I mean, the frog is so scary.
What are you talking about?
Wait, you don't know what we're talking about? What?
It's
you got to 1v1 the frog right now. Okay, I'm going to take you there. I'm making you do it.
Hold on, I'm booting up Guild Wars. I'm booting up. I've got to watch this.
Look, I'm gonna switch the podcast perspective so that everybody can watch this in real time.
Yes,
this is the
frog is a rite of passage.
Yeah, no, this is the perfect way to end off the podcast. Is you must 1v1 the frog live. Okay, are you ready for this? Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you believe that he can 1v1 the frog. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that the frog will eliminate him.
I'm a believer.
And if you're in the YouTube comments right now, say what you think in the comments. What's your prediction?
If you're in the YouTube comments, subscribe to me on YouTube.
Subscribe to all of us on YouTube. There we go. Okay, I'm going to the frog.
Oh my God, it's my Willbender's birthday. That's so cool.
Nice. Oh my gosh, this is going to be absolute content. Holy crap. Yeah, don't watch this if you want it to go in blind, but this will be amusing for those. Oh, there are other people coming. ANET Dev is coming to watch this, by the way.
Is it awesome? I've seen him in the chat.
Look, I'm making a squad. Everybody join. We're on
Sneb, give me a character name and I'll squad join on you.
It's just Sneb. SNEB.
All right.
Everybody join. We're going to watch this live. Are you ready? I changed the perspective. All right, I'm watching. I might get rid of I forgot how to get rid of the UI. There's a
Control Shift H.
H? Yeah, I thought it was U for a second. Okay. All right, this, my friends, is the frog. And we are going to watch Bozo 1v1 the frog. This is an important...
This frog is a rite of passage.
Yeah. Everyone must...
in there?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're ready. Do you have anything to say before you get wrecked by the frog? I mean...
Leroy Jenkins, I guess. Like, let's just do this.
I'm watching this. Yeah. I'll commentate it.
Get him. This is the new monthly automated tournament. You just recruit a player.
Oh, he's like half HP. He's running away from the frog.
My God.
The frog has spawned a couple other things. It's down to quarter HP. The frog's teleporting around, not sure what to do. Gets hoisted. Runs away. Gets shot out of the air. Instantly sniped. The frog.
Yeah, Steve, you need to haze every one of your podcast guests by making them 1v1 the frog.
Oh my goodness. The frog takes another victim. All right. You can have one more chance, right? Oh wait, no, it's still going because you killed the other frog. Rallied.
Oh my God, he rallied.
He did rally. It's still going. I called that way too early. He's going. He's at like 10% HP. Did break the CC bar there. Frog is going down below 60% HP. Is absolutely pummeling with damage here. Looks like we got a condition damage. Oh yeah, the condies are continually ticking. This is incredible. We're seeing 40%. Except
he came so prepared for this fight. He didn't even know what he was coming for. He came so ready.
20% HP versus the 31%. Use the heal, but immediately gets slapped by the frog. The tongue goes out. Bozo is but a frog. Victim is a fly, an insect to the frog. Oh, down to 10%. There's a new player trying to help.
No.
But the virtuoso could help. This is just a random player.
They're not even in the squad. They just wanted to help out.
He could survive. Is it 20%? 20%, 17. Is the player's gonna go and res? This is huge for Bozo. The frog is at 7%.
Outside interference.
The outside interference is totally allowed. Oh, gets the rally off of the wasp. Holy, he's gonna do it. The frog goes down.
He's built different.
The frog is defeated. Oh my
Bozo's built different.
Let's go.
I was a believer from day one. I was the first one in the chat. I knew you could do it.
Oh my goodness. I did not believe, but I have been turned into a believer. Holy
Bozo made that frog look easy. I promise it will not be that easy. It's not that easy for me. It's that frog is stressful.
That was an incredible moment. That was a highlight for sure.
Follow me on Twitch for more gamer
Follow
moments.
Bozo Friendly on Twitch. Follow Bozo Friendly on Twitch.
That was an incredible moment. Okay. Well, folks, we're coming down to that time. We've had a super good conversation. Thanks to Ghoul for the raid and everything. And thanks for everybody for hanging out and watching that frog experience with us is a kind of a good random thing to do during the podcast. But yeah, folks, we'll start with we'll start with Pixel here. Where can people find you? How do they follow you? How do they see your content? Any shout outs?
I'm on YouTube. youtube.com/it's pixel. I'm going to be posting more videos on game design, specifically around Guild Wars 2. I want to do stuff outside of that as well. If you want to hear what's coming up in Visions of Eternity, if you're a new player, I have a video going over all of the elite specializations we're going to be getting, with other stuff coming out soon. If you want to ask questions or learn about the game, I'm very active in the Snowcrows Discord. That's probably where you can find me most easily if you have any questions and just want to learn. Snowcrows.com. Discord should be on that website. It's a very wonderful community. I got my start through there, and I owe a lot to it. And yeah, I'm on social media. I'm on Blue Sky and Mastodon. I can post those ads in the chat if anyone wants, because they're bridged together. But that's it for me. I'm not super. I'm newer to the content creator game. I haven't refined this whole thing yet, so I'll pass it off to Bozo.
It's good. And now for the reigning champion of the world, the Frog Slayer, Lord of all amphibians, Bozo. How do people find you?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BozoFriendly. You can find me on Reddit at u/BozoFriendly. The biggest thing is try out my new website, commanderlounge.net. We have meta guides. We have a full suite of tools for static teams. We even have a monthly Ecto lottery. So if you create an account, you get to try your hand at getting some Ecto and opening up some more 4 wins boxes and getting some some infusions there. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being on the podcast. This has been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure I'll have you both on again someday. It's been awesome. But yeah, people, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like for more of this kind of content, and put a comment down below. Have you ever 1v1 the frog? If so, how did that go? Tell us about your experience and how that went. Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.